We have been working until now with data from one table. In real life, you're going to have many tables, and some of them, they have some common fields. So then you can connect them, you can relate them by that common field. If you are familiar with Access databases, so that's exactly what you're doing in an Access database. You create relationships. But it's also possible to do that in Excel, and we're going to create what's called the data model. Before doing that, the data should be formatted as tables. So you're going to have many tables. And it's a good idea, instead of keeping the default names like table 1, 2, it's a good idea to give them meaningful names to make our job easier. Here is an example. You have a table with representatives and a table with sales. And in the representatives, you have an ID, and that's basically the representative ID. And in the sales, although it's named different, it's also the representative ID. So then you can connect the two tables by that common field. Note that you will not be able to create relationships in Excel for Mac, so you do have to use Excel for Windows. We are now in Chapter 5 file, and it's H4, hands-on number 4, so it's another file. And let's see what we have. We have books, and if you look over here in column A, we have discipline code. And the discipline code repeats because we can have, within the same discipline, we can have many areas. And then within the same area, we can have many books. And then let's take a look at the discipline. And here the discipline code is unique. So those are the possible codes and what they represent, what discipline they represent. Now let's take a look at the editors. And you see over here that we also have editor ID, and those are again unique IDs. And if we go back to the books, we should find that editor. Let's see, let's take a look. Editor ID, you see it here. But again, this one repeats 112, 112, because for the same editor ID, we can have many book titles. Okay, let's create our first relationship. So remember, the disciplines have a discipline unique code. And we go to the Data tab, and we find over there relationships. And we're going to create a new one. In the related table here, where it says primary, the primary should be that unique discipline code. So we need to select first the discipline and that unique discipline code. The table here is books, and in here is named discipline code. Discipline code. And then we create the relationship. Let's go ahead now and check what happens. So I'm going to close this window, and I'm going to go to Manage Data Model. And if you go there, and if you show diagram view, you're going to see now we have one here to many there. So one code in discipline will have over here many repeated codes in the books. The good news is that if you try to reverse the relationship, it will not really work. Excel will give you this warning. The relationship cannot be created in this direction because the related lookup column contains duplicate values. So that's a good part. You cannot really make mistakes. Now let's see what happens with the editors. So we have editor ID, and then in books we have editor ID. So they are called just the same. But remember, the unique values will be in the editors table. So let's go ahead now to the data again, and then relationships, and we create a new one. And the primary over here, remember, should be from the editors. So the editor table, and then the editor ID, and then that will go to many. So it's a relationship one to many. It goes to books. And in the book, we should have again editor ID. Let's push OK and close. And let's go back now to the data model. And we can see there. So you see how from the editor, one code corresponds to many codes. I mean, it's the same code, but it's repeated in the books table. Now that we have the relationship between all these tables, we are ready to actually create a pivot table to pull up information from all of them. So let's close the data model. We are back in books, so let's create a pivot table. We click where we have the data, insert, pivot table. And we have an option, add this data to the data model. So that's really important now. It goes to a new worksheet and push OK. And then if you go here to all, you see all the tables. So that's really cool. From the books table, we would like the total book sales. So I'm going to check that box. Because it's a numeric field, it goes automatically on the values. From the discipline, we would like the discipline, not the code. We want to see the name. And from the editor, we would like the editor last. So as you can see, it's possible. Remember, in the books, we only had the code for the discipline and the ID for the editor. But because we have all these tables connected, related, then we can pull up records from the discipline, which is the discipline field, and from the editor table, which is the editor last. As usual, you can edit the labels if you want. I'm going to just format the numbers. So I go to the number format, the counting. I choose 0 decimals. We can name this pivot table. Let's create a copy of the pivot table over here. So we can move our copy, create a copy, and we would like to move it before this one. So let's push OK. Let's click on the pivot table, and then we can go to the pivot table tools, analyze. And under the analyze, you have an option for a pivot chart. So let's create a pivot chart. And we would like this one to be a pie chart. And it will look really, really confusing because we have a lot of data, so it's not readable. But then we decide to filter to show only family disciplines. So let's do that and show the family. And now it looks much cleaner. Let's give it a title. Now let's go ahead and sort here. So we can right click and we can sort largest to smallest. Let's go ahead now and add data labels. So we can right click and we add data labels. But suppose we want to have percentages, I can just click on this and I can go to the options here. And instead of value, let's show percentage. And as usual, just be sure all is readable. Be sure you can actually see if it's contrasting or not. So we need to adjust that.